Hey boys and girls, happy Friday. We made it through 4 weeks of online learning. Kudos to you guys. I know this is not amazing, but we're making it the best that we can, and that's all I want for you guys, right? We're just going to get right into our read aloud today, and then I'm going to talk about our write long prompt and sort of what we're expecting to see with those answers, okay? All right, happy Friday. It was as if the house knew that they were coming back and was calling to them. As soon as they stepped out of the street, their feet seemed to know the way. All they had to do was let them lead. What do we do when we get there? Wendell wanted to know. I mean, we only just escaped with our lives last time. Mrs. Griffin will help us, Harvey said. Wendell's breath quickened. Suppose Karna bit her head off, he said. Then we'll have to do it alone. Do what? Find Hood. But you told me he was dead. I don't think being dead means much to a creature like him, Harvey said. He's in the house somewhere, Wendell, and we have to hunt him down, whether we like it or not. He's the one who stole all these years with our moms and dads, and we don't get them back until we face him. You make it sound easy, Wendell said. The whole house is a box of tricks, Harvey reminded him. The seasons, the presents, they're all illusions. We have to hold on to that. Harvey, look. Wendell pointed ahead of them. Harvey knew the street at a glance. 33 days ago, he'd stood there with Rictus and listened to the tempter tell him what a fine place lay on the other side of the mist wall up ahead. This is it then, Harvey said. It was strange, but he didn't feel afraid, even though he knew that they were walking back into their enemy's arms. It was better to face Hood and his illusions now than to spend the rest of his life wondering about Lulu and mourning the years that he had lost. Are you ready? He asked Wendell. Before we go, his friend replied, can we get just one thing straight? If the house is all illusions, then how come we felt the cold? And how come I got fat from eating Mrs. Griffin pies? And I don't know, Harvey cut in, doubt running a cold finger up his spine. I can't explain how Hood's magic works. All I know is he took all those years away to feed himself. Feed? Yeah, like a vampire. This was the first time Harvey had thought of Hood in that way, but it distinctively seemed right. Blood was life, and life was what Hood fed upon. He was a vampire, sure enough. Maybe a king among vampires. So shouldn't we have a steak or holy water or something? That's just in stories, Harvey said. But if he comes after us, we fight. Fight with what? Harvey shrugged. The truth was he didn't know. But he was sure that crosses and prayers weren't going to be of any use in the battle that lay ahead. No more talk, he said to Wendell. If you don't want to come, then don't. I didn't say that. Good, said Harvey and started toward the mist. Wendell followed on his heels, and just as Harvey stepped into the wall, he snatched a hold of his friend's sleeve so that they entered as they had exited, together. The mist closed around them like a waterlogged blanket, pressing so hard against their faces Harvey half thought it intended to smother them, but it only wished to keep them from changing their minds. A moment later, a tremor moved through its folds and spat them out on the other side. It was high summer in Hood's kingdom, the lazy season. The sun, which had been hidden by rain clouds on the other side of the mist, was beaming down on the house and all that prospered around it. The trees swayed in a balmy breeze. The doors and windows of the house, its porch and chimneys, all gleamed as if newly painted. There were welcoming songs in the eaves, welcoming smells from the kitchen, welcoming laughter through the open door. Welcome everywhere. Welcome. I'd forgotten, Wendell murmured. Forgotten what? How beautiful it is. Don't trust it, Harvey said. It's all an illusion. Remember? All of it. Wendell didn't reply, but wandered away toward the trees. The honeyed breeze gusted around him as if to pluck him up. He didn't resist, but went where it led into the dappled shade. Wendell, Harvey said, following him across the lawn, we've got to stick together. I'd forgotten about the treehouse, Wendell said dreamily, staring up into the canopy. We had such fun up there, remember? No, said Harvey, determined not to let the past distract him from his mission here. I don't remember. Yes, you do, said Wendell, smiling from ear to ear. We worked so hard up there. I'm going up to see how it looks. Harvey grabbed his arm. No, you're not. Yes, I am, he snapped back, wrenching his arm from Harvey's grip. I can do whatever I want. You don't own me. Harvey could see by the glazed look in Wendell's eyes that the house was already working its seductive magic. It could only be a matter of time, he knew, before his own powers of resistance were worn away. And then what? Would he forget his work here entirely and become an empty-headed boy, laughing like a loon while his soul was being sucked away? No, he said aloud. I'm not going to let you do it. Do what? Said Wendell. We've got work to do, Harvey said to him. Who cares? Wendell replied. I do. And so did you 5 minutes ago. Remember what it did to us, Wendell. The wind in the trees seemed to sigh at this. Ah, it said, as if now it understood Harvey's purpose here and would waft this intelligence to the ears of Mr. Hood. I love the language in this book. Harvey didn't care. In fact, he was pleased. Go on, he said as the gust flew toward the house. Tell him. Tell him. He turned on Wendell. Are you coming? He said. Or am I going to go in alone? I don't mind going in, Wendell said cheerily. I'm hungry. Harvey stared hard at Wendell. Don't you remember anything we said out there? He demanded. Of course I do, Wendell replied. That was loud, sorry. Of course I do, Wendell replied. We said we were going to. He paused, frowning. Going to... This place has stolen time that belongs to us, Wendell. How did it do that? Said Wendell, still frowning deeply. It's just... Again he faltered, searching for the words. Just such a perfect day. The frown began to fade again, and a broad smile replaced it. Who cares? Wendell said. I mean, it's on a day like this. Who cares? Let's just enjoy ourselves. Harvey shook his head. He was losing precious time here, which was exactly what Hood in the house wanted. Instead of wasting any further words on Wendell, he turned on his heel and headed toward the front door. Wait for me, Wendell hollered. Can you smell that pie? Bless him. Harvey could, and he wished he'd put some food in his belly before he started on this adventure. Knowing that these tantalizing smells were all part of Hood's repertoire wasn't enough to stop his mouth from watering or his stomach from grumbling. All he could do was think of the dust to which his ark animals had turned when he'd stepped out into the street. The pie on the kitchen table was probably made of the same bitter stuff, concealed beneath a veneer of sweetness. He held on to that thought as best he could, knowing that the house into which he was about to step would be full of such blandishments. With Wendell again trailing a step behind, he climbed the porch steps and marched into the house. The moment they were both inside, the door slammed behind them. Harvey reeled around, his skin crawling. It was not the wind that had thrown that door shut. It was rictus. Okay, what a perfect way to end for this week. Oh, you guys. Okay, so for today's Right Long, okay, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about it because we've been talking about theme and perspective and how a character might have their own dragons to work through. And I'm sure that you guys are noticing that now that we've talked about it in your own fantasy book, okay? So that was our read aloud. Our teaching point is just really that we want to remember everything that we've been doing so far this week. And so I'm going to go through a couple of things that we talked about. I think this was done in black and white on Wednesday, so now you get to see it in color. Okay, so theme, this is to think to yourself, and you have these questions as you're reading. What does the author hope that you, as a reader, are realizing, okay? And remember that just like in this cupcake, your cream filling is hidden inside that cupcake. Same for theme. It's hidden inside of your book. It's not just going to come out and tell you this is the theme, okay? And then we want to also consider perspective of our characters who we know are flawed, right? They have some character flaws, and those could be their dragons, right? So let's look at perspective. This is just a character's ability to consider a situation from that different point of view, okay? So if Harvey had been swayed as easily as Wendell in this last chapter, what might his perspective have been? He's stuck to his ground as far as, at least for now, okay? And so that's just how you see something, okay? Poor Wendell. And then this is where I'm going to reiterate that you want to take those blinders off, right? Wendell definitely has his blinders back on almost immediately when they're back at the house. And so we want him to be fully aware of what's going on around him, and that really that house is a character of its own. Okay, and this just said, we reiterated about the paper bag princess, how Elizabeth, she couldn't see what a jerk Ronald was right away, so her perspective kept her from seeing that that was actually her dragon. So I want you guys to just give all this a think while you're doing your last bit of reading today before you do your write long. And you've got two choices today, okay? So you can either pick something that your character is facing, or even something that you are facing right now that might be your dragon. So the first write long prompt is, what are some of the dragons your character is facing? What conflict does it represent? And does perspective get in the way of the character seeing that as a dragon? Okay, if you want to screenshot this, you can. And then I'm about to read the or, okay? So, or discuss dragons or challenges you might be facing in your life in this moment, okay? Describe the literal threat and explain what conflict this represents, or what lesson this dragon may be teaching you, okay? So you could even relate this to the coronavirus, right? That might be everybody's dragon right now because it's sort of getting us all down, and that might be a challenge for most people, and it's hard not to be around your friends, and there are definitely challenges that come with this. But I want you to remember, it's all about your perspective, and if you can find something good about every day, that's going to really go a long way to keep you going. So I hope you guys are doing amazing. I hope to see you on today's Zoom. Remember, it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to 10:30. I hope you all tune in. That Zoom code is always going to be posted on the main page in Canvas. And I think it's now the same link every time. So you should just be able to sign back in and it's the same password. So yay! You guys, 4 weeks done. Pat yourselves on the back because you're doing an amazing job. I know this is not what we expected, and it's not what the teachers expected either at all. So just stick with it. Keep doing your best. And remember, with only one response a day and doing your reading log, I just want to see your best work. Show me that you're getting this information and you're understanding theme and perspective and dragons, right? All right, you guys, have a wonderful weekend, and we will talk to you guys soon. Bye.